right? So that's done. It's that easy. But we're not going to do that. I might be. I'll just make my anchor longer. Okay, so we're going to start with 2 anchors. So he's in a good position here for me. Okay, we're going to say it hurts to do that. One anchor there. Whenever you're taping, whether it be a thumb or a finger, never end on the palmar side, because that's where sport happens. It's all here. Sport doesn't happen here. That happens at home, right? So sport, the thing is, the tape's just going to roll in through there and everything. It's not going to work out well. Okay. So those are our 2 anchors, right? The joint, very important. This is the one we're going to protect. Is that MCP? And what you're going to find too is athletes hate to have tape into their palm, and I don't blame them. All right, so all I'm going to do is lay these down. You don't have to worry about going in a spiral fashion. That's just where the tape is telling me to go. So we're in through there. You guys can see the anchor, and the X. Does that make sense to you? Very quiet. Okay. And what I did quickly last time was just a crimp, right? Crimping. Right? So it's just a crimp. You just have it folded over. And I put that right into the web space, because that's just a lot more comfortable in through there. It's not going to irritate it. Don't get caught up in that I used a full strip initially for the anchor, and then I used 2 half strips after. Don't worry about that. It's whatever you need to do, right? So I had that right handy, so that's what I used. There's a flat through here. That's going to rip real easy. So we crimp that a little bit so it doesn't, right? Look at that. Is that HD? Yeah. See, that's going to look nice. Okay, right? So that's going to sit there like that. So if we test it now, it's not going to go back as far, right? Let's check the other one. Right? So it still goes back a little bit. Easy enough to fix. I would take this off. You just get these little strips, because you don't have to destroy the whole tape job and do the whole thing all over again, right? It's that simple. So that distal anchor is already there. I'm going to pull him into more abduction, bring it across there, right? So if I hold that now and try and bring that thumb back, it's not going to go. It's going to get to neutral, right? Now with this, it looks nasty, right? I won't actually do this, but this works really, really well. Okay, so you put this in through here. Right now, sloppy tape job. I would lose marks because I'm past the anchor. If you want this thing not to move, fold that down nicely, put another piece of tape right over top of that, and you got a nice clean edge on here as well. It's not going to roll back on you, and it's not going to slip at all. It's not going to come off because that thing is folded back, right? Very, very strong. He can move the IP joint, right? And at the same time, we got better restriction there. Okay, that's the simple one, right? That one works. In a pinch, if you have any issues, that's the easiest one to do. We do the anchor X in the elbow. We also do it in the knee. You can do it with the fingers. And actually, it works very well. It's a simple one. But like coaches in sports, certified therapists try and come up with better ways to do things, and we just make it more confusing than it probably needs to be. So what we do, and if you choose to do this one, you cannot use an anchor, or you can't use the pre-wrap, sorry, right? So we have two starting points. This is the one that you're going to have on your slides. There's going to be one starting point there and one starting point there, right? You're going to do two different teardrops. So when you're doing the arch, right, and you're doing those little teardrops, very, very similar. The hardest part is getting over top of this thumb. Position is everything. So he's holding his shot glass. We have two options. You go under this way. You can try and go over, but it doesn't work nearly as well. At this point, don't worry too much about the prettiness of it. If you're really picky, you can do that. It's not going to do anything. It seals it nicely. Okay, so one teardrop on the anterior side. Again, we start mid web space first. Right over top of that MCP, and I'm going to finish here. Again, I'm not worried about this. Right? The chronic mistake, so you guys can see it, is this. It does nothing. Right? All it's really doing is wasting tape. You have to go over top of that MCP joint, right over there. That's the one we're trying to protect. Right? So you got to go over top of that one, start and finish there. With this tape job too, you got to remember to spray because it needs to stick. We are going to put anchor strips down at the end, but you do have to spray this stuff down. Okay, so those are basically the teardrops, if you want to think of it that way. And then we have these two anchors now. So we're going to apply, sorry about this, but it's got to be done. Okay, we're going to put the hood on top. Try to keep the hairs so they don't overlap too much. So the tape here gets overlapped by a half. You can use a full roll on this as well, or you can use the strips like this. Do your best to keep it within those boundaries. And this one is just called the hood. And again, you're covering that whole IP joint, right? Or you're just before that IP joint, you're covering that MCP. Okay, so that's basically the thumb tape job. It's done, but we have lots of edges. So we come in through here, cover up all those edges nicely. And this one doesn't have much to do with the wrist, so I just lay a piece down here nice. And it's done, right? Which one do you like better?
This one feels a lot more stable, but it feels like a less mobility, obviously.
Yeah, and with this tape, when I taped an ankle the other day for home use, and they didn't like it because it didn't give. That's because we used a different tape. We used an Andover product, and it's that latex-based stuff. It doesn't have any give to it. This will have give to it. They can take this and start working it a little bit. They can go through a warm-up, and they can move it around a little bit, and you're going to start to have more give, but it's still going to be quite stable, right? This is more like a cast, right? This one works great. You can play basketball with this. You can't play basketball with a splint on, though. We have to cheat. Turn the cameras on.